He has 4 solo projects, 13 albums with Genesis. He's produced at least 5 other artists and has played as a sideman on scores of records. And right now he is the hottest act in rock and roll. And once again, Rockline welcomes Phil Collins. Phil, nice to have you back tonight.
Good evening.
How was the concert in Cleveland this evening? It was your second sold-out night there. How was the concert?
Very good. Yeah, I think everyone enjoyed it. We had a good time. We had 2 good nights there.
Somebody told me you were going to get a police escort from the Coliseum over to the MMS studios. Did that happen tonight?
Yes, it was very, very exciting. We had a police escort out of the gig, down the highway, and then they left us, and we picked up 2 bikes, and they were ahead of us in the city here, so we got here on time.
That's great. By the way, you were brilliant on David Letterman the other night. That was really a fun show.
Yeah, I had a great time doing that. That and Carson were both sort of ambitions of mine to do, and I'm very pleased I did them, and it was very relaxed. I had a good time.
Who came up with that opening skit? Was that David or the writers, or did you have anything to do with it?
Oh no, it was the show. I mean, I don't know who. I guess it was the Letterman writers that did it, but it was very enjoyable to be part of it. You know, playing with the band and doing a bit of chat as opposed to just the interview made it a bit more worthwhile. You know.
We'll give you an opportunity to talk with Phil Collins. All you have to do is call, and we're live, so call now. In the United States, 1-800-222-ROCK. In Canada, 1-800-344-ROCK. We'll be right back. It's Rockline. It's a special edition of Rockline tonight, and Phil Collins is our guest for the full 90 minutes, and we have a phone call for Phil, our first for the evening. From Reno, Nevada, listening to 105.7 KOZZ, we have Sue on the show. Hi, Sue.
Hi. Hi, Phil.
Hi. Hello, Sue.
They said when I called I could mention to you that my letter about you was printed in Rolling Stone this issue.
Oh, yes, I think I've read it, yeah.
Well, I'm a very big fan of yours, and this is really a thrill for me to talk to you.
That's my pleasure.
I wanted to ask you what inspired you to name your first touring band the Fabulous Jacuzzis and then revise it to the Hot Tub Club for this tour.
Well, originally it was it's a thread of humor that runs through the group. I mean, I like humor. It's one of my other things in life, and we have a sort of conversational thing in the band where I would instead of saying, if I rang someone up in the group, if I rang Peter Robinson up, I'd say, instead of saying, "Hello, Pete, how are you?" I'd say, "Pad," and then he'd say, "Scene," back to me, and I'd say, "Cats," and he'd say, "Fabulous," and I'd say, "Jacuzzi." So we went through all these 50s words, you see, and eventually, when we decided to go out on the road, we thought that maybe we could use this, and so we decided to call ourselves the Fabulous Jacuzzis, because jacuzzi was a 60s thing, 70s thing, and fabulous was a 60s, 70s word. And so we thought we call ourselves the Fabulous Jacuzzis. And then when we came out this time, we thought we'd try and change the theme, but still have a thread the same. So we called it the Hot Tub Club, because of the hot tub and jacuzzi comparison. And in Australia, we actually had a string section that toured with us because of the musicians' union rules. And there was 9 of them, so we called them the 9 Warm Jets. So in fact, we're Phil Collins and the Hot Tub Club and the 9 Warm Jets that bring pleasure wherever they go. So it's really a humorous thing, but we're running, I'm going to have to think very carefully the next time to see if we can get something that's just as good.
Thanks for the call, Sue. I'm glad you got to get on the show. What else were you going to say?
I just was going to say I saw you in Philadelphia. You were fantastic.
Thank you, Sue.
All right, thanks for the call.
Glad you enjoyed it.
We'll talk to Troy now. It's his turn. He is in Toledo, Ohio, listening to FM 104. You're on the show, Troy.
How you doing, Phil?
All right, Troy.
Okay, I just wanted to say you were great on David Letterman, and I'm looking forward to meeting you tomorrow night at Pine Knob.
We got a date, have we?
well, in a matter of speaking, all right, my question was, my friend Randy and I was wondering what the little caption you wrote on the inside of your album cover meant, as far as there's no Fairlight on this record or album.
Well, everybody seems to be, everybody was seeming to use Fairlights and digital synthesizers all the time. You know, everything was being sampled and then used on records. I mean, for instance, people were taking John Bonham's drum sound or my drum sound and using that on somebody else's record, you know, by sampling it and putting it on a chip and putting it in a drum machine. So as everybody else was doing it, and I don't know how to use a Fairlight or an emulator, so I just thought it was quite a humorous thing to put on the album. Queen did it, actually, on one of their albums. Not that I buy Queen albums, I have, you know, but I did read the sleeve once. It said there is no synthesizer on this album because Brian May, his guitars, sound a lot like synthesizers some of the time, and people would have thought that it was the easy way out to do it on synths, but in fact it was just guitars. So we just thought it was a funny thing to put on the album, really, just one of those little things for people that know about this kind of thing.
That was the very first Queen album that was on, Phil, by the way, the one with Keep Yourself Alive.
That's right.
Very first one out of the box.
Killer Queen, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, that was on Sheer Heart Attack, I think. Which
Oh, was it?
came a
I'm
little
sorry.
later.
I'm not a Queen fan. I'm sorry, but...
Thanks for the call, Troy. We'll talk to Lisa now. She's in London, Ontario. Our affiliate there is CJBK. Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Hello, Lisa.
How are you, Phil?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you.
Oh, that's great here. I've got a question for you.
Uh-huh.
What is the future of Genesis?
Well, the future is, we're doing an album in September. Last 2 weeks of September we start, and this has been on the cards for quite a while now. The thing is, everybody seems to think that, especially now, I guess, because my album has done so well, and I think people tend to think that if you're doing one thing, then you can't do another, and therefore it's obvious that I'm going to leave Genesis because I can do it on my own. But in fact, the thrill of doing it with another, with a group of people is very interesting still. So we've still got a group. We're doing an album September, October. I hope to get it finished by January because I want to produce Eric Clapton's next album. So if we can get it through in those 3 or 4 months, which isn't impossible by any means, but the thing is, the last album and this new album, we're going to do the same way in as much as we're not going to have any material written. We're going to go in there and write together from scratch as a 3-piece group, So therefore, Tony and Mike don't have to play my songs, and I don't have to play theirs. We keep our individual songs for our own albums, and which gives the group a purpose. It gives a group a reason to be around. Otherwise, if we were just playing each other's songs, it would get a bit pointless. But because it's a different kind of project, the three of us had seen if we can write together, which is all what we've been doing in the last few years, and it seemed to work and give us a sort of a reason to be together still. So Genesis is still very much alive and kicking, and we'll be coming to America in September, October. I know it sounds a long time away, but it's September, October next year.
It'll be here before you know it,
Yeah, that's right. That's what I keep telling my kids. Time goes by quick.
We're going to listen to some Phil Collins rock and roll right now. Everything we're playing, by the way, tonight is on compact disc, including a little bit later a song that is only on compact disc and no jacket required. We're going to play We Said Hello Goodbye, so that'll be a treat for you a little later. For right now, from Hello I Must Be Going, It Don't Matter to Me on Rockline. Going, It Don't Matter to Me by Phil Collins, our guest for the full 90 minutes in this special edition of Rockline. Our next call is from Mason City, Iowa. KRIB is what Mike is listening to. How are you tonight, Mike?
Just great.
You're on the air.
Okay. Mr. Collins, I was wondering what kind of music you listen to at home yourself.
Well, Mike, I listen to bits and pieces of everything. I listen to some classical music, not a lot, because I don't really know what I like that much. I like the pop classics like Bach and things like that. But I listen to a bit of that. Mainly, I suppose, if I listen to anything consistently, it's the Beatles. I don't listen to a lot of music because there isn't a lot of time when I'm not actually playing music. So when I'm at home, I'm usually washing up or changing the cat litter or something like that, which I find therapeutic. But unfortunately, they're starting to go out in the garden now, so I'm being made redundant. But if I listen to the Beatles, or I'm a big Stephen Bishop fan, I love his albums, and obviously, the black R&B I listen to a lot of. Prince, Earth, Wind and Fire, all kinds of stuff. I can never think of this sort of the more out artists I listen to. Talking Heads, I'm a recent fan of. But as I say, I don't really tend to listen to that much music. I tend to watch a bit of TV, because if I'm home for a week, then that's away from music. So that's really, I don't particularly, unless we're up pretty late, in which case we might put something on like the Beatles just to have on in the background. But I listen to a bit of anything and everything, really.
So there's your answer, Mike, and thanks for the call. We'll talk to Colin now. He is in Marshfield, Wisconsin, listening to FM 95 in Wausau. Hi, Colin.
How's it going?
Colin, I'm all right.
How's it going there?
I'm all right, mate.
Hey, I gotta tell you, I think you're the greatest drummer, and besides that, you're a superb singer and songwriter.
Well, thank you.
I love your hairstyle too.
Hey,
I think
there's not
that's
much
great.
of that.
Okay, what I'd like to know is, if you find it difficult to sing and play the drums at the same time, and how do you decide in concert what songs you're just gonna sing and what songs you're gonna play the drums and sing on?
Okay, well, from when I was at school, from 12, 13 onwards, I guess, I was always playing drums and singing. I was the singer in the school groups. So I got used to the coordination problems of, getting your left foot, left hand, right hand, and the voice to do different things. So the reason I don't play and sing more on stage is really because it looks visually to an audience, it just looks so boring, not being able to have someone out front communicating the words of a song to the audience. So, which is one of the reasons why with Genesis, when I took over the singing thing, that I got pushed out front rather than singing from behind the drums. Sometimes with Genesis, for instance, if there's, like, for instance, there's Robbery, Assault and Battery, take that as an example, where I would be, I'd go back to the drums for the organ solo, keyboard solo, and there'd be a few lines of vocal in the middle of that, so I'd sing that from the drum kit. Stuff like Cinema Show, when there's a big instrumental thing at the end of that, I would go back to the drums because it's a playing thing and there's no singing. With my own show, unfortunately, because the songs are more songs as opposed to lengthier pieces, then usually I'm stuck out front or behind a keyboard and I sing. In the air, I play the drums on In the Air because I think everybody wants me to play the drums on In the Air. That drum fill has become synonymous with myself, you know, so I have to play that. So I do that from behind the drums, and if there's any instrumentals, I've only written 2 instrumentals, so I play them. It's really whatever's on the next album, with Genesis, for instance, that will govern whatever I sing and play, really. I mean, we're writing more vocal songs, so therefore I'm pushed out front a bit more. But if there's any instrumental things, I try and rush back and play. And then I do enjoy playing with Chester, so there's no big deal if I play on my own or not, really.
Thanks for the call, Colin, and thank you, Phil. We're just getting started on our special Wednesday night edition of Rockline. Phil Collins on for the full 90 minutes, and we're live, so you can call now. In Canada, toll-free 1-800-344-ROCK. Here in the States, 1-800-222-ROCK. It's Rockline. Jacket Required, that's called Inside Out, another good song from that album. They're all good songs on that album. We'll take a call from Little Rock now, listening to Magic 105. We have Stacy on the line, and you're on the air now, Stacy.
Hi.
Hello, Stacy.
I just wanted to say that you're really great, and I can't wait to see you in concert with Genesis again.
Oh, that's very nice of you. I'm sure we'll be... I don't know if we ever come to Little Rock. Where's the nearest really big town to Little Rock?
Dallas. Or Memphis.
Dallas or Memphis, yeah.
Oh, Memphis, yeah. Well, we played Memphis the last time, and there was a lady from Little Rock whose name escapes me, but is very famous. But she was there, yeah. And well, we would definitely be playing Memphis or Dallas, so I hope to see you there.
Okay. And I was wanting to know, when you're doing that Live Aid concert, were you going to be doing a solo, or were you going to be with Genesis there?
Well, that's solo. I'm doing something in London on my own, and then I'm going to do a couple of songs with Sting, and then I'm going to fly on Concorde to Philadelphia, or to New York, and then I'm going to do the Philadelphia one as well. So I'm doing both concerts. Only a fool like me would do this. And I'm going to be playing. Drums with Eric Clapton and his group, I hope, if I get there in time. And then Robert Plant and Jimmy Page are doing a set, which I'm going to be playing with, and I'm going to do a couple of songs on my own as well.
Oh.
So it should be good fun. I think there's going to be a lot of madness, but it will be all for a good turn, you know, good cause.
Rockline sets the record straight once again. I had heard you were going to do that, Phil. I'm glad to hear you verify that. Somebody told me that Bob Geldof had been literally offered a Concorde by the company and said, hey, it's
British Airways have made themselves available with the car. I think it's a scheduled flight, the one we're getting, because it leaves at 6:30 and gets into New York at 4:30. And we're getting a helicopter from Wembley to the Heathrow, and then a helicopter from Kennedy to Philadelphia. So if that all runs smoothly, I should be there by 6. I'll have an hour to chat to Robert Plant about what we're going to play, and then we're going to do the rest. Is hopefully going to be history. But I think it's just exciting to go there. I'm going to do a couple of songs on my own towards the end, and it'll just be a worthwhile day. I mean, if you're going to get involved in it, you might as well put the whole thing into it, and, you know, I'll just be jet lagged for a couple of days afterwards, but it's all for a good cause.
Oh, that sounds great. We're talking state-of-the-art here, folks. Let's take a call from Sandy. She's in Vernon, Connecticut. Our station in Hartford, 106 HCN. Hi, Sandy.
Hi, hi, Phil.
Hi, Sandy.
How do you do?
I'm very well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for asking.
Can you do me a favor? Can you say hi to Jamie Lou for me?
Hi, Jamie Lou.
Okay, thanks. And my question is, at the Academy Awards show where they nominated your song Against All Odds, how did you feel about having Anne Rankin sing it?
I didn't feel as bad as everyone thinks I felt. I was very, very pleased to be nominated. It's a big deal for someone like myself to be nominated into an Academy Award thing, which is, you know, something that I've been watching since I was a kid. And so it's very prestigious thing to have, and just the nomination alone is enough. I was going to be in LA for the awards anyway. I just thought it made sense for me to sing if I was there. It was my song. They decided against it, so that's history now, and there's nothing we can do about it. I just think that they could have had someone that could have... I didn't think the song sounded very good because she wasn't a very good singer. So if they'd have had a singer and her dancing, that would have been better than nothing. But the song, fortunately, the votes were cast before her performance. Otherwise, I probably would have come a close 6th out of 5 of us. But in fact, you know, it was all the dies were cast before she set foot on stage. So I have no grudge against Anne Rankin. She, you know, everyone has a career to live, and she's trying to do the best she can for herself, and I'm sure that's why she did it.
We're going to play the real version of that song in just 1 second. We talked about Live Aid just a second ago, though, and I want to take a moment to mention something that WMMS in Cleveland has come up with, along with other people in the Cleveland community. It's the CARE Session, Cleveland Artist Recording for Ethiopia. They have come up with a beautiful song called The Eyes of the Children. It's going to be on Buzzard Records, distributed by MCA. You will be able to buy it nationally, and on that is Michael Stanley, Donnie Iris, Ben Orr, the Cars, and a whole lot more people that are all Clevelanders, and they have decided to band together and do something. It premiered today on MMS, and I got to hear it, and it's really excellent, and they should be commended for what they've done. Promised you Against All Odds? Here it is on Rockline by Phil Collins. Soundtrack to the film Against All Odds by Phil Collins. Sounds like an Academy Award winner to me. We'll talk to Mark now. He's in New London, Connecticut. He's listening to Providence's 94 HJY. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Bob. Hi, Phil. How are you tonight?
I'm very well, thank you, Mark.
Good, good. I'd like to say if the show in Cleveland or wherever it was tonight in Ohio went tonight, as well as the one in Saratoga, it must have been simply fabulous because the one in Saratoga was excellent.
Great. I'm glad you enjoyed it, yeah. We had a good time.
Okay. My question would pertain to your work with Brand X and the fact that that seemed to be very progressive and instrumental expressively, while your most recent work has been pop-oriented vocal. What would your explanation for your transition to this vocal work be?
Well, the original idea of Brand X, I mean, I joined Brand X. It wasn't my group, so I think that sets the tone for the answer. I mean, I was merely a player in Brand X, and at the time when I joined, Genesis were playing pretty tight, restricted to me material. We were playing, you know, it was around the Wind and Wuthering period, the Lamb Lies Down period, when we were playing songs that were a little tight to me, as opposed to, you know, the loose sort of jazz area which I like to play. And so I decided, Genesis was the wife and Brand X was the mistress, if you like, and I wanted to take off my clothes and live a bit, so I decided to stay. I wanted to, sort of, to play with Brand X, and at one point I was thinking of leaving Genesis because I found the Brand X thing much more freer and more open to playing. But over the albums with Brand X, we started to get a little bit more arranged, and Genesis, over the same period, started to get a little looser. So we ended up meeting a bit in the middle. So around the time of Duke, we were kind of doing a similar kind of area, although, as you say, Brand X was far more instrumental. Really, I mean, Brand X decided, you know, to split up because, I mean, I was only a member of it, and I had to opt out because of Genesis commitments. So they got other drummers in to play instead of me. And people just went their separate ways. I mean, Percy Jones lives in New York, John Goodsall lives in Los Angeles, Peter Robinson's on tour with me. You know, we're all going different ways, and there's no reason why we couldn't get back together again at some point to do an album, but it was only ever a little project. And I tend to not be a very clever pianist, you know, so I can't really write instrumental things. I've done West Side and I've done Hand in Hand, which I'm very pleased and proud of, but I tend to write vocal songs because I'm a singer, and it's a lot easier to write vocal songs being a singer than it is to write, you know, more instrumental songs being a drummer. So there's no real change in direction. I mean, the next album might be totally different for all I know. I don't really know what it's going to be like yet.
Brand X made some great music. That was a nice project you got involved in there, Phil. And thanks for the call, Mark. Thanks for bringing that up. That was fun to listen to. Let's talk to Peter. He's in Sacramento. Our station's KZAP. You're on the air, Peter.
Phil Collins?
Peter?
Oh, wow. I don't believe
believe it, man. I'm talking to Phil Collins. We love you out here in Sacramento. I've seen your show. You're unbelievable.
Oh, we played there just recently, yeah.
Yeah, Phil, I have a question I want to ask you, but first, my sister Sue wanted me to tell you that if she ever had the chance, she wanted to marry you, but I already know you're married. But she
Okay.
wants to marry you. Don't forget that. Anyway,
I won't forget that.
I wanted to ask you, I know you have an acting career, and you were talented in England and everything when you...
I was talented in England. I'm not so talented in America.
Well, hey, you
No, I'm
still
just
are
joking.
talented
I'm
to
just
me. Believe me. Anyways, I heard that, I read an article here that you requested to be on Miami Vice. I wanted to know if they were going to put you on there.
Well, they used my music a couple of times, and they actually asked me if I would like to be in it. And originally, I forget whether I said yes or no, because I didn't know what time they were talking about doing it. But I met a couple of the guys, the producer. I think it was the producer or the director, I can't remember now, in Los Angeles when I was there just recently. And he saw the show and he really liked the comedy aspect of it. And so I think they're going to write a part for me, which is a game show host who presumably has drug connections somewhere. And it would be quite a big part in the thing. Originally it was supposed to be a cameo part, you know, but I think now they're going to write a part which will be quite an important part of the show. And I would like to do it very much. I want to get back into acting gently, because I had some pretty, you know, unfulfilling, unexciting experiences as a child, well, teenager, not a child, acting, and I kind of didn't like certain aspects of it. But I think if I go in there and people respect what I'm going to be doing, then I'd like to ease myself back gently into it, and this seems a good opportunity to do it.
Oh, yeah, what a great vehicle for you. It couldn't be any more tailor-made, I don't think. Time for some more rock and roll night right now. This will be the new single released in, I think, about a couple of weeks from No Jacket Required, Don't Lose My Number on Rockline by Phil Collins. It's a special Wednesday night edition of Rockline with Phil Collins. I'm Bob Coburn. We have a call from Ottawa, Ontario. Our station is CFRA. Julie, you're on the Rockline.
Hi, Phil.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
My question to you is, why did you shave off your beard?
Oh. Well, my wife didn't like it very much, and so I had to shave it off. I look a bit older with my beard, so I'm just trying to be youthful and energetic, you know. No, I don't like shaving that much, so I tend to sort of let it go for 2 or 3, 4 days, and then rip it off, and then let it go for 2, 3, 4 days, and rip it off. But there's no real reason behind it. I just get bored with it, you know. I get bored with my own appearance, so I just keep changing it.
Thanks for the call, Julie. We'll talk to Jackie now in Twin Lake, Michigan, listening to LAV-FM in Grand Rapids. You're on the air, Jackie.
Hi, Phil.
Hi, Jackie.
Do you think it would be a little pushy to ask you to say hi to my friend Sarah?
Hi, Sarah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that would be too pushy.
Okay. In the past, you've worked with a lot of different artists, you know, like touring with Robert Plant and, you know, singing with Philip Bailey, plus your solo career and Genesis. And now that you're extremely successful now, do you think you'll have the time to work with all these artists in the future?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I try and fit everything in a sort of circular sort of pattern. I mean, I'm doing the Genesis thing next. After Genesis goes out on the road, I won't be rushing back to the studio to do my own thing. I'll leave that for a couple of years. Well, I mean, it won't feel like a couple of years, I hope, but I mean, I won't be in a rush to go back into the studio for my own thing. I shall be in 1987, which sounds like a long way away, but in fact it isn't, because 86 is going to be mainly Genesis stuff. I hope to do a lot of producing. There's a few things I really want to try and do, and so I will, you know, I might not come out on tour with people. I think the thing with Robert Plant was a really one-off thing. I was on the albums that he did, and I wanted to be part of it and help him to come back, you know, from the Zeppelin thing, and help to be there when he came back on the road. So that was good fun for me, as well as helping him, I hope. But I won't be doing live stuff as much as producing, because that's something I like to do, and it's always interesting. If I can learn from it, I'll do that. But so by the time I've done that, you know, I'll be ready for my own thing again, and then the Genesis thing after that. So, you know, I'll be around for quite a while, I hope.
Can't you find work, Phil?
Listen, you know, I got to shop for work all the time. You know,
all the time,
no respect at all, you know.
Need to get a bob here and there, huh? Let's talk to Henry. He's in Lincoln, Nebraska. Our station Z92. Hi, Henry.
How you doing, Phil?
All right, Henry.
How's everything going?
Everything's going pretty good, you know.
Okay, yeah, I really enjoy your stuff and Genesis stuff for quite a few years. It's really
Thank
great.
you.
My question is, what is it with the face on your album covers? Your last 3 album covers you had faces on. And in comparison, why didn't Genesis ever have, like a group portrait on any of their album covers?
Well, Genesis never had a picture on the album cover because we all thought we were so boring that we looked exactly the same as any other rock group. And so therefore we tried to get something that was graphic and put over the mood of the music. So, having done that for 13 or 14 records, when it came down to my record, I thought that the thing that would be significant to someone looking at a cover, to see a picture of me on the front, would help highlight a change. I mean, when I first did my first album, the most important thing was to highlight to people that it was on a different label. I mean, not in this country, but in Europe, where people tend to think more of this kind of thing. They want to sort of, if there's a difference, you have to ram it down their throat. It was on a different label. Everything was handwritten. It was a picture of me. And it was so different from the Genesis thing, which seemed to be a little bit removed, that it helped to show people that the music that was on the record might be different from the Genesis music. So that's one of the reasons I did it. Then the second album, I thought, well, I've done one angle, the face, the basic idea of the first one was to get inside, as close to the person's face as possible, because it was a very autobiographical album. But the second one, I was happier. So we did it in colour, I did change the angle of the head so that it was like part of a set. And then when it came out and doing the third album, I wanted a change. I didn't want my face on the front. But I saw so many duff album covers and so many ideas that didn't really appeal to me at all that I just went with me again. So I sort of thought of a different angle and a sort of, the music was hotter, so I wanted a hot photograph. So that's why it was like it was. I mean, I know it seems very egotistical. I mean, it's not the reason at all. I mean, it's not like I want a picture of me on the front. It's just that my albums are very personal things to me. And so therefore, the picture of me on the front is like, this is me, take it or leave it. I'm not, Mr. Eligible Bachelor or nothing. I mean, it's not like Simon Le Bon here. We're talking about something that is just a picture of a face that has got a personality which comes across in the music. And that is, the reason, really.
There's your answer, Henry, and thanks for the call. Some more rock and roll on compact disc now by Phil Collins from No Jacket Required. Take Me Home on Rockline. The name of that from No Jacket Required. Phil Collins, our guest for the full 90 minutes on this Wednesday night special edition of Rockline. Have a call now from someone listening to 96 QMF in Louisville. They're in Jeffersonville, Indiana, and her name is Star. Hi, Star.
Hi. Phil.
Hello, Star. How are you doing?
This is Star Gibson and Stephanie Schultz, and we're in love with you and your keyboardist. Stephanie said hi.
Hi.
Okay, and we were wondering, at what age did you start getting really interested in your music?
At what age did I what, sorry?
Start really getting interested in music.
Well, I haven't really started getting interested in I started getting interested in music, I suppose. The first record I got was probably around 62, 61, 62, 63, which was before the Beatles really first started. There was a couple of bands, one called Joe Brown and the Brothers and the Shadows. They were the first 2 records I started playing drums to, but I've been playing drums since I was 5 years old, so I guess it wasn't so much music that I was playing along to. I mean, records as we know it. It was 78s probably, but it was the television. I used to set up in the living room and play along to TV shows. So the first records I bought were by those people, and then of course the Beatles.
Seems like so many British artists were influenced by the Shadows. Were they instrumental, basically?
Yeah, they were like the English Ventures.
The English Ventures.
Yeah, they were back. They used to back Cliff Richard. There was Cliff Richard, the Shadows, and they were really. I mean, they were around the same time as Presley, and they're still going. I mean, they're still a very good group. We're still going, too. We'll have more in just a moment with Phil Collins on Rockline. Our numbers are toll-free in the United States, 1-800-222-ROCK. In Canada, 1-800-344-ROCK. And we're live, so you can call now. It's a special edition of Rockline. I'm Bob Coburn with Phil Collins, my guest for the full 90 minutes tonight. We'll talk to someone in Sacramento. Our station is KZAP. This is Juliana. You're on the air, Juliana.
Hi. Phil.
Hi.
Phil?
Hi. Yes, I'm here. I'm
Doesn't
here.
sound like a Juliana to me.
I know. Is your voice broken, Juliana?
This is Jamie, Phil.
Hi, Jamie.
I'm from San Francisco.
Oh, San Francisco, near Sacramento.
I've got air tonight, you witnessed some kind of a murder or something like that. Is there some kind of a short summary you can give me for the definite or the meaning of that song?
Well, that's way off. That song was... I'll try and be brief, but I mean, my songs, most of the lyrics of my songs, I try and write spontaneously. So if I sing stuff into the microphone at home onto the tape recorder, I would try and use that stuff as much as possible. In the Air Tonight was 99% improvised. There was just a couple of lines which I didn't have, and so it was all spontaneous. So I don't really know what it means. A psychologist would probably have a field day, but I don't really know what it means. I definitely didn't witness a murder, although in fact in Cleveland here I've had a massage 2 nights running from this guy who actually said the same thing to me, that he'd heard the same story, which is a coincidence. So I don't know where it came from, but it's certainly nothing to do with that. It's just a song that was spontaneous thought, and obviously I was feeling a little tense that day.
Rockline sets the record straight again. We'll talk to Sandy in Chicago, the Loop FM 98, our station. Hi, Sandy.
Hi.
Hi,
Phil,
Sandy.
I was wondering if your new album is going to have any of the old progressive songs, old progressive rock influences, or it's going to be more like Abacab and Duke?
The new Genesis album, yeah.
Genesis album. Well, we don't know, to be honest. I mean, it's tricky because people, some of our old fans, they want us to play the old stuff or the old style of music. And we write songs that are reflective of what we've listened to since the last time we wrote songs together. So really, it's hard to say. We try and change because the change keeps us fresh, and it keeps us enthusiastic about doing the project in the first place. So we don't really want to go back and retrace old steps. So I think in answer to your question, I think inevitably it's going to be something different. Hopefully it will be in the step of things, in the sort of in the modern idiom, as we call it. I don't particularly want to go back and do songs like One for the Vine, Supper's Ready. Great though it might have been in 72, 73, it's not really what I want to do now. So I think that fans that like those old albums will just have to listen to those old albums and try and change and bear in mind why we're changing, A lot of the songs on the last album, I think, were just as melodic and had the same kind of romantic feel as some of the older stuff. It's just that it also had a harder edge, and we're living in this day and age where, that's what we're listening to, and we're basically a result of whatever's going on around us. So I think we'll just have to wait and see a little bit. It's all up in the air at the moment.
Who knows what tomorrow will bring, Sandy. Thanks for the call. It's Barbara's turn. She's in Lexington, Kentucky. 98 Rock Double Q is our affiliate. You're on the show, Barbara.
Hi, Phil.
Hi, Barbara.
I just wanted to let you know that last week I really enjoyed your concert here in Lexington.
Well, thank you.
And at this concert I really noticed that you attracted an audience of all ages. And I was wondering, what aspect of your music do you feel appeals to this wide age group?
Oh, well, I think that the reason there's a wide age group is because there is different types of music encompassed in the show, really. There's definitely a strong element of the audience that don't know anything apart from No Jacket Required from my audience. They're an audience that basically heard Against All Odds, liked it, Against All Odds and liked it. And then One More Night came out and they liked that too, so they went and bought the album. So there are people there that don't particularly like, say, the West Side aspect of my music, which is more the jazz influence. There are some people that are there because they like In the Air. I mean, it basically, there are people all over the audience, and there's them older people that maybe stick with Genesis from the beginning and like more melodic rock. I don't know. I'm pleased that the audience is across the board because, I mean, I don't particularly, the last thing on my mind is to become a Barry Manilow. But at the same time, I like to listen to different types of music, as we talked about earlier, and so therefore that will reflect in what I write. And I write different types of songs, and some people will be there mainly for One More Night, and If Leaving Me Is Easy and Against All Odds, and other people will be there mainly for In the Air, and maybe, some of the more instrumental things that I'm playing the drums on. I don't care anymore, stuff like that. But it's I am very aware that most of the audience on this last tour has been more recent than maybe Face Value and Hello I Must Be Going. I think a lot of them are more familiar with the new stuff, let alone being familiar with Genesis stuff. They probably don't know half of the Genesis songs at all.
couple of notes about this next song we're going to play. First, there is an orchestral introduction to the song that we have eliminated for brevity's sake. Secondly, it is only on compact disc. Name of the song is We Said Hello Goodbye. Why only on CD? Phil, what's the answer to that?
Well, I over-recorded for the album, and we literally couldn't fit any more music on the album. And I was very pleased with the songs that we had to leave off, one of which is going to appear in a film called White Nights, which is got Michelle Brezhnikoff and Gregory Hines in it. And that's going to be a duet that I did with myself and a lady called Minnie Martin, which is it's a Stephen Bishop song. There's another one, which is this one we're going to play now, and also another one which is on a B-side called I Like the Way. And I was very pleased with all of them. I mean, David Frank played on the other one, I Like the Way. So then they're all songs that would have made it on the album, but just because of time, we couldn't fit them all on. But this is one, I think Kenny Rogers is going to do this one. I've crossed over the country.
It came out nice. Here it is. It's a special edition of Rockline with Phil Collins. I'm Bob Coburn. Phil says let's try and get as many calls on as we can before the show has to stop. A call from Cleveland, and that's where Phil was located tonight at WMMS's studio. Greg, you're on the show.
Hi, Phil.
Hi,
calling
Greg.
from the rock and roll capital. How are you?
All right. I'm very well, thanks.
I'm Greg Volashin.
All right,
and
Greg.
I would just like to say you put on a brilliant show tonight. I was pleased in every way.
Thank you.
I would quickly like to bring to focus the sort of path that has led to your success. And I find it important to say that Genesis seems to be a unique sort of project in the way that when they were in the height of their success back in the mid-'70s and they had the lead singer leave the band and sort of their leader, there were questions as to what direction the band would take. And from what I know, I heard you only sung one song prior to the Trick of the Tail album. And
I sang, there's one on Nursery Crime I sang, actually, called For Absent Friends, and there was one on Selling England, which was the one I suppose is more known, which is more for me, yeah.
Okay.
That's right, okay.
And I find it just amazing that you have just taken the band into the direction that you have and therefore furthered your own personal solo success as you have.
Great. Well, the thing I think, I mean, Genesis, a lot of people think that I've changed Genesis. I have merely become more of a third member, an equal third party. Before Face Value, I had less time. I was busying myself with other things. I had a family, and it was very tricky for me to try and to put as much time and energy into the band as I should have done. And consequently, I wasn't writing very many songs, and so my strength is more as an arranger. I put more of myself into the band when I found myself with more time on my hands. And so rather than changing the band, I've just become more of an equal part. So the things that have changed with Abacab and the last Genesis album really has been a group effort to try and move into the 80s, you know, and to not become a caricature of ourselves and to try and change our music and to, you know, to change with everything else that's changing around us. So although I am quite happy to take some of the credit, I certainly don't want to take all the blame from people that don't like what we're doing now. There's the same thing with, you know, I'm just as much responsible as the other two guys in the band. But, I mean, I know that probably wasn't the question, Greg, but I haven't actually changed Genesis for my own personal gain. I do what I do, which is whatever that is, and it changes from album to album, I'd like to think. And the Genesis thing is just continuing to grow. I think that people like to put people in boxes and think that Genesis do what they do. And I've come along and opened a box and taken them into another direction. I think everybody in the band, I mean, there's only three of us for crying out loud, but I mean, everybody in the band has wanted to change, and so we've all done it, you know.
Thanks for the call, Greg. We're going to move on because we're running out of time and get Mary on the air. She's in Junction City, Kansas, listening to KJCK. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Phil.
Hi, Mary.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Okay. I watched Johnny Carson last week when you were on. I was just curious why you didn't sing any of your songs off your new album on there.
Well, I'm a bit stuck for songs I can do on my own, really. In the Air was a bit too long for them. So you got to get a 3-minute format. You know, if you go on a show like that, you've got to stick to 3 minutes. And I don't write anything that's 3 minutes, apart from Against All Odds. The only one, they wanted to do 2 songs. I tried to do 1 song and have a longer chat, but they wanted to do 2 songs. So I was stuck with trying to do something else, and that was Roof is Leaking. I did, in London, I did a live television show and tried doing one more night on my own, and it was awful. So I didn't want to do that again. Really, you know, I couldn't have done Sussudio on my own, could I? So I'm stuck with what I have available to do on my own at the piano. But I tried to do against I couldn't do that much because my voice was a bit shot anyway. But I really wanted to go on there just to talk to Johnny. I didn't mind about the singing.
Thanks for the call, Mary. We appreciate it. I want to let you know that you can reach us through the mail as well as on the radio. Our Rockline address is P.O. Box S, Tarzana, California, 91356. Thanks to everyone for the excellent caliber of calls tonight that we've received. And our thanks go to John Gorman, Kid Leo, Rhonda Kiefer, Steve Church, and all of our Rockline production team at WMMS. Thanks for the hospitality, the courtesies, and the good line, too. Thanks to Phil Collins, too. Phil, I want to say something that we haven't mentioned so far, and that is when the album No Jacket Required first came out, within about 4 weeks it had gone to number one. One More Night was the number one single. The album tailed off a little, stayed hot, and One More Night dropped off from number one. But the next Billboard, the number one album in America, is going to be No Jacket Required, and the number one single will be Sussudio. And I want to congratulate you on that. You got to feel good.
Yeah, I do. Very good. And I'd like to thank everybody for... it's been a fantastic year for me. Starting with the album, and before that Easy Lover, and before that Against All Odds. And I'd like to thank everybody that's bought the album and the single and has come to the shows, because I think there aren't that many artists around at the moment that have done as much business as we've been doing, and it's down to the kids that come and buy the tickets and see the show. So I'd like to thank everybody out there for coming and doing all that stuff, because it's been a fantastic year for me.
It was good to see you on the Carson Show, good to see you on the Letterman Show, and thanks for being on our program, the only one of the three where the audience can call and talk to you. It's been nice to talk to you, Phil.
Thanks for having me.
I'm BC, and I hope you've enjoyed this special edition of Rockline.